So I'm feeling a bit hustled at this point, James.
By the activity competition?
Yeah, because since our last show, we did an activity competition, and you were fairly inactive for the week, which I thought was unusual for you. But I think you were averaging like around 300 some points a day, which made it fairly easy for me to keep up and win that one. But we immediately went into a second one, and you've been getting close to or at 600 every single day. And I've had to put in a lot more effort to stay ahead on this one.
Yeah, but let me just say, you have beaten me every single day so far. I'm hitting high 500s, and you are hitting 600 like every day.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can end the day at like 570 anything when those last 30 points are, I feel, pretty trivial to get at the end of the day. I would not feel satisfied going to bed at that point.
Yeah, I really should go for them, but it's my maximum effort basically to get that far. Like, I'm normally in bed by 9:30, but like during the week I've been like 9:30 and I just need more points, and I'm doing like a yoga session till 10:30 and going for runs. I am putting in effort to get where I am, and I suppose there's always more I could do, but it seems those last 30 points continue to elude me, whereas they don't elude you.
I've been putting in some extra effort too. In fact, the stationary desk, or stationary bike desk that I bought for our first competitions years ago when fitness competitions first came out, I was finally motivated I pulled it out of the basement, and it's in my office now, and so I just sit on that during the day while I'm working, and that's how I'm keeping up my points now.
Nice. Okay, so it's a cycling desk, is it? So you can just sit and work, and your legs are working as well.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty novel.
Yeah, and I bought that 3 or 4 years ago when we started the fitness competitions, and then it's been sitting in a basement covered in cobwebs. So you've motivated me to pull that out. So thank you.
Good. And you motivated me to run for the first time in years.
Oh man, look at you.
And resubscribed to Fitness Plus as well. And as I told you, well, I didn't tell you the full story, but I was visiting a friend, and he said, well, I've got a new TV. Do you want this old one? And I don't have a TV. I haven't had a TV. But so, yeah, sure, that'll be handy. So I got the TV. It's just a little, 32 inches, something like that. And then I got the new Apple TV 4K as well.
Awesome.
Set it all up. So that, plus the Fitness Plus subscription. And away I went. I've got the full-on living room Fitness Plus experience now. I'm like those people in the 80s who dance around their living room during the middle of the day like a house person, a housewife, a house husband, whatever.
Nice. Yeah, I've been meaning to try out some of these yoga classes because it seems like you're very into them. You do at least a couple a day, according to our fitness competition.
Yeah, I'm a fan of yoga just to begin with.
Yeah.
A few good instructors in there. There's Jessica, who's young and fit and sporty and always puts you through some hard flows that get your heart racing. Or you can go for Molly, who's the older woman, and she does more older person oriented stuff, which I do enjoy, especially when it's past 9:30 at night. Yeah, no downward dogs, thanks. Let's just stay on our feet and stretch for half an hour, basically. And then there's some dude, I think Dustin might be his name, and he's a good mix of the two.
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe yoga can help me with some back and neck problems that I have. It's not very normal, but it's probably just part of getting old, and you're probably going to say, yeah, this is just a regular thing, but there'll be just one bad night where I'll sleep wrong, and I'll wake up and go, well, crap, my neck is going to hurt for the next month.
I've heard people say things like that, but I've never been one to have a bad night's sleep and then wake up wrecked. But I do just have a general state of needing to stretch more and needing more flexibility.
Okay.
So I can empathize a little bit. I think yoga will help. If I do a yoga session first thing in the morning, then I feel like a different person for the rest of the day. All the aches and pains are gone. Okay. Sound like an 80-year-old. But I feel like I can stand up straighter, I can walk easier, I'm more energetic. It's yeah.
All right.
It's a great way to start the day.
I'll have to give it a shot. I usually start the days with a walk. But there's some mornings where if I don't get out of bed early enough, it's just unreasonably hot, like 32 plus degrees, and I decide I don't want to go on a morning walk because that'll make my day less comfortable. So maybe I could do yoga on those days.
Yeah, yoga inside, aircon running, whatever you need.
Yep.
We had the opposite situation, not to make any excuses for my first week, but we had a torrential rain. We had flooded streets, flooded houses. All the ovals were just swamps or turned into lakes.
Oh, wow.
The local councils were running out of sandbags. Yeah, it was pretty mental here.
Well, I sent you a video during that first competition. It was not light rain here either. But I still got out and got almost a 4-mile walk in the pouring rain.
I did preface this with saying it wasn't an excuse. I appreciate the video. It did, it was a good video. I'm happy to see that. You're really putting in the hard yards in the rain. Yeah, to beat me.
I had to buy a whole new pair of shoes because mine were just ruined after that. So that's what it takes to beat
you. Oh, really?
Yep.
And it's like flooding here, which it never ever does. It sounds like you're getting a bit of rain, and Germany's and Holland are basically underwater. A lot of people dying from houses being swept away. It's pretty mental.
Wow, I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah. A dam burst last night, Yasmin said, close to her parents.
Are they all right?
Yeah, her parents are all right. I'm not sure if there's any deaths related to the dam burst, but yeah, certainly a lot of people missing, a lot of houses lost, towns underwater.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Well, I got just a lapse from the rain today. It was pouring yesterday too. So I don't know what's going on. Worldwide weather phenomenon.
Yeah, at least in the areas we're in touch with.
So, I got to go into an Apple store for the first time in probably almost 2 years last week.
Yeah, wow. Nice.
And I was just excited to go in there again. But I realized walking into the store that there's a lot of products that I hadn't got to see or put my hands on yet. Products have been out for a long time, and it was such an unusual feeling for me to walk into an Apple store and not be immediately familiar with everything on the shelves. But I had a good time playing with stuff. I checked out the new iMacs, and was a little surprised by how pastel they were on the front. But I like them quite a bit. I finally held an iPhone mini in my hand for the first time, and was...
Thoughts?
I love it. I love the size of it. I don't think that it's enough for me to get a mini this year, just because of the feature difference, but I will talk about this a little later. With the release of the battery pack, I feel like a mini could be more feasible in my life. I don't have to worry about battery quite as much.
How do you reconcile your need for the top spec phone, though?
Yeah, that's the part that I won't be able to reconcile.
Okay.
So, but I will probably settle on a mid-range because even going from the mini, holding the regular sized iPhone and iPhone Pro in my hands felt like the big phones until I pulled the big phone out of my pocket, and then it felt comically large. So I think I can be happy with just the medium-sized phone this year.
Okay.
And I got to hear AirPods Max for the first time, and I almost walked out of the Apple store with AirPods Max.
Really? Okay. I've definitely seen them, but I've never actually thought to try them on. Probably because I know I would never buy a pair. But how were they?
They were better than any headphones I've ever heard. And that is coming from someone who is currently talking to you using headphones that cost the same amount as AirPods Max. So,
and the Max sounds better.
I think so. Maybe it's just because all I ever hear is your voice through these headphones. They're tainted to me. But no,
I'm not sure if that's an insult to my voice. Wait, let me try and piece that together.
They're certainly the best wireless headphones I've heard. That's an easy, hands down. The bass was incredible. It had I don't know the words for this. Highs, the mids, whatever. It all sounded good. I played my very first song that I have to play on any new audio equipment, which is Centipede by Knife Party. And that's a tradition I've had since high school. So I keep that up, and it's become it's not even a good song, but it's become my point of reference for audio equipment now, because I know what it sounds like on so many different things.
Handy to have.
Yep. And that $500 credit that I've got pending still really was burning a hole in my pocket sitting in there listening to those AirPods.
And yet you didn't pull the trigger.
If I thought I would use them at all, I would have bought them. But I do not listen to music except in my car. And the only time I have even my cheap AirPods in is when I'm listening to podcasts on my walks. I never listen to music when I'm walking. It's always a podcast. And I can't even justify getting the AirPods Pro for that reason. So I knew the Max would just sit on my desk and go to waste. So that was the only saving grace I had from keeping me from using that credit.
Well, I'm glad to hear you made the right decision there.
It was a hard decision, though.
Yeah, I can imagine being in your place. It must have been a real struggle. Did you hesitate as you're about to step over the threshold out of the store?
I stood outside the store with my iPhone in my hand because I can only use my credit by making an online purchase. So I had AirPods Max in a cart, for pickup at that store I'm standing outside of. That was that close. But
did you play something lossless, or did you just go for a lossy track?
According to now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure. I believe that Centipede in Apple Music is lossless now. It had one of those icons at the bottom, and I believe it was the lossless one. It might have been spatial audio now that I'm thinking about it, though. But I don't think that would have made any difference. You're still limited by the Bluetooth codec more than anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Centipede is lossless, so I did listen to a lossless track.
Okay, but not spatial.
Nope.
Okay, so yeah.
I tried listening to spatial audio just on my AirPods when it first launched, and I'm just not the right person to even really notice a difference. I bet if I played the same song back to back, one with and without spatial audio, I could tell, but as someone who doesn't listen to much music, it just sounded like music to me.
Well, I listen to quite a bit of music all the time. Not as often through my AirPods. It's mostly through the HomePod. But when I'm listening through my AirPods, often I'm thinking, is this spatial audio or isn't this spatial audio? And then I'm fairly sure, I didn't actually check afterwards, I'm fairly sure Billie Eilish's tracks are spatial audio. And one of her tracks came on and I was still thinking, is it on or isn't it on? And then even the little samples, the demos that they've got there, where they play a mono track, a stereo track, and then a spatial track.
Yeah.
Some of them are quite apparent. But then there was one of them, I can't remember the track now, but they played the stereo and then they played the spatial track, and you could have switched them around for all I knew, because there was no difference to my ears.
Yeah. That seems to be... The reactions online seem to be either exactly that, or I've seen a handful of people say, this is game-changing, and I'm ditching Spotify for Apple Music because this completely changes the way I listen to music. But those must be, really hardcore audio people to enjoy it that much.
Yeah, or just blind Apple sheep.
Well, these are Spotify users that are saying they're switching, though. So I don't necessarily think that's the case.
There are some tracks that I think it was maybe ATP put me onto, which actually sound far worse through spatial audio.
Oh, okay.
It was like an early thousands pop punk, maybe Green Day or Blink-182, but some of their tracks were redone with spatial audio, and they just sound atrocious.
Huh. You think they would notice that before releasing it and just decide not to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's probably an audio engineer who was just paid, like, just make this spatial. And he's like, it doesn't make sense to make it spatial. Like, it's a pop punk song. Just do it. Come on. We need that logo there, mate.
Yep.
And he was like, malicious compliance, and he just made a really bad mix.
Yeah.
I like that subreddit, but the posts are always so long.
Oh, yeah. I'm not subscribed to that, but they occasionally make it to the front page, and I'll see one.
Mm.
I'm trying to type it in now, but realizing I don't know how to spell malicious.
You need me to spell it for you?
I think I got it right, but it says r/malicious compliance is a private community, and I have to request to join. So maybe there's literally someone has it. No, I spelled it right. No, I didn't. I forgot the second I.
MALICIOUS.
Oh my
yeah, I got
goodness.
this straight away.
Okay, show off.
How did you spell it? With an SH?
No, I spelled it. I just forgot the second I after the C.
Ah, yeah.
Apparently, that's a private subreddit.
Malicious compliance.
That's a very different thing.
Sounds a little XXX rated.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's private.
Any more comments on your Apple Store visit? You didn't say much about the iMac, besides how pastel it is.
My problem with the iMac is I couldn't decide on a color. Like, first of all, I'm not at all driven to get one just because it's identical in specs to my laptop already. So I wouldn't feel like I was gaining anything out of buying one. But if I had to buy one, I would have a really hard time deciding on a color. And if money wasn't an object, what I would really want is one of every color to line up, because I think they look really good side by side.
Your office just becomes an Apple advertisement.
I mean,
basically,
that's kind of what my office is.
Lined up, slightly offset, and actually facing away from you, so you can see the back.
Right.
The stronger color set.
Right. I mean, that's how they show up in all the advertising, and it's almost like they were designed to be shown off right next to each other. And it would be hard to pick, unless I had like one very specific space that I wanted a computer to just like sit and be decoration as much as a useful computer. I would have a hard time picking. But if I could just pick one area, it's like, I want one that goes in my living room, so I'll match one, or get one that matches like my art or my furniture or whatever. That would make sense.
What if you just took the choice away from yourself and bought the silver one?
No, that's not on the table at all. I would not buy a silver one.
It solves all the problems, though. You can put it anywhere.
It sends the wrong message. Because I could not be happier that the Macs are coming in colors again. And if I bought a silver one, I would feel like I'm telling Apple that I don't need to be one more statistic pushing Apple to go back to boring silver computers for everything. So I will.
There are relatively so few iMacs sold that your single purchase of a silver one would probably show up in the stats.
Right. So I like colorful stuff. All of my wallpapers are colorful. My browser is colorful on my work computer. Edge has a theming thing, and it's got like I don't know, it's some kind of colorful rainbow theming for like the Chrome around the browser. And I would want a colorful computer to match it. I would just have a hard time picking. If it came in every color, like if it had like the 7-color Apple theme somehow with stripes, I would love that.
That would be a good looking computer. Maybe not if the stripes made it around to the front, but certainly on the back.
Yeah. I mean, even if just the Apple logo on the back came in the 7 colors, that would be cool.
Oh, imagine that. What if they made a beige iMac with a colorful Apple logo on the back? Yes.
I mean...
And over time, it slowly turned yellow.
You can just get the yellow iMac right now.
No, it's a very specific type of beige turned to yellow. You can't start yellow.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have the same effect.
I'm trying to look at what these yellow iMacs look like now. Yeah, it's a little too yellow, but it's not too far off from what some of these computers end up looking like. So I actually really liked the yellow one. Like, that was one of my favorite colors. So all of the traditional favorite colors, I think, were actually some of my least. Like, I don't know, it seems like blue has been a really popular color. I wasn't a fan of the blue. Red, I think, was another one that I didn't like too much. But like the yellow and orange and purple, I liked those quite a bit.
I would go probably that blue color.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a safe color. And I think that's the problem. And maybe even something that would push me to get maybe a blue one is that I would want it to match my space, but I don't know. I feel like I would be worried about moving it, or I'd worry about my space changing over time. And so I feel like blue is a neutral color that could go good with most areas. So I'd pick that versus something stand out like orange, where I could like theme my desk to match this orange. But if I ever wanted to change an accessory or something, then it would all look wrong.
You know what else is a strong neutral color? Silver.
Can't do it. If presented with all these choices, I would never choose silver.
Yeah, it'd be pretty high up there for me.
Really?
Either blue or silver.
Ugh.
Podcast ends on that note.
Yeah.
We never record another
the show. Yeah, is over.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Steve Wozniak has spoken about the right to repair. He's been paid to record a video also.
Right.
For Lewis Rosman. Mm-hmm. Lewis is a very outspoken proponent of the right to repair. And I didn't really know this about him till recently, but he's been informally lobbying and now formally lobbying your government to introduce right of repair bills. Mm-hmm. And he's also, I've seen his videos occasionally over the years, and they're often about repairing things. But he's got over 1 million subscribers now. He's quite the name, made the name for himself on YouTube and in the right to repair community.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that he's paid Steve Wozniak to say this, I think Steve is well on board with his cause as well.
Yeah.
And not just his cause, sorry, but the cause in general.
I'm not sure it was clear that he paid Steve Wozniak, because he had a reaction video that he posted afterwards that sounded like, maybe I didn't understand him clearly, but it didn't sound like he was the one that paid for the cameo. Like it was a surprise to him as much as anyone else. But yeah, it originated from somewhere, and maybe it was him and I misunderstood his channel, or he's being deliberately obtuse, or is that the right word, vague about the origins.
He has actually made a comment on the Reddit thread, which is a little vague, but the way I interpret it is he paid for it. So,
okay.
Here's what he says. I signed up for Cameo and asked for what he thought of right to repair for engineers, customers, and companies. I reached out to a lot of people when I made the more professional lobbying approach 3 months ago. It was good to hear back. So when he says professional lobbying approach, that sounds like money went into it. That's how I read that.
Yeah. Okay. I know that I had his reaction video on in the background while reading other articles in preparation for this show, just because it was quite long and a little self-aggrandizing at some points.
Also self-deprecating, because he did put a clip where he was literally laughed out of the room by some senators.
I really like his YouTube channel when he's fixing things. I think it's I I spent some time studying electrical engineering in college, and this was something that I really wanted to do. And I can credit Steve Wozniak for me studying that field in the first place. His work with the original Apple computers, and even before that with like making games for Atari and making the Universal Remote, and just all of his electronics projects, his calculators that he made as like a middle schooler, was really what inspired me to go into the field. And I eventually changed majors and went into software. But all of that to say, I enjoy Luis's channel. I like watching him repair stuff, but I can only take him talking in like short chunks, because for something about like his personality gets on my nerves after a while.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, the fact that Steve Wozniak, even though it's a little, I don't know, it has a little less impact when he's been paid to say it, or it's not clear how his prompt for Cameo was, because you can basically pay people to say whatever you want. But it all sounds exactly like something Steve Wozniak would say. He's always been a strong component of right to repair, and long before it was called right to repair, back when he just wanted to make sure all of Apple's computers were opened up so that hobbyists and tinkerers like him could make their own accessories or make it better. That's always aligned with his core beliefs, and was one of the biggest differentiating factors between him and Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that he believes this, but it's cool that he's made a video outspokenly supporting it, because it sounds like Louise turned around. Louise, I don't know how his name is pronounced. It's going to turn around and it's already using this video to get other lobbyist money behind this cause, because now there's kind of a big name backing it. So seems like this could have some kind of significant impact on the laws in our country, the same way that automotive right to repair did here just recently, last few years.
Yeah, whatever we think about the origin of this video and whether it's murky or not, it certainly seems to have achieved a new level of publicity for him, at least, and for the cause. Although there was a lot of backing for right to repair beforehand. But yeah, if it gets more money backing him to make his voice heard and get more things approved, I suppose that the USA is also probably one of the, like, the USA and EU would be kind of leading the world on this as well, because I mean, we all know about the EU and how much they dictate what happens with electronics. For instance, like everything has to charge with mini USB or whatever, that sort of thing. They like to make big, all-encompassing laws about things like this. But then tons of the products that we used are designed in the USA. So if the law is going to exist anywhere, it should probably be like USA first, and then it will flow on to the rest of the world. You probably wouldn't see something like this happening in China, I expect. They're not. Right. I don't really know much about the attitudes towards this in China, but you get the feeling that they're more money oriented, and that this is where the Chinese government bans our podcast.
If we're still allowed in China anyway.
I don't think the podcast is in China. I'd be surprised.
Well, I will look at our national listenership while we talk, and I'll see if we have any listeners in China. This is also not something that, if you were to ask anyone about right to repair in plain terms, that people don't support. The majority of people are going to say that, yes, that makes sense, and there's no reason that there shouldn't be laws allowing. Well, I guess there could be people who are explicitly against more laws being created, but I don't think there's anyone who views the right to repair as an inherently bad thing, except the companies that stand to lose money. So
and so taking Apple for instance, the way that they stand to lose money is it just becomes harder to design things with right to a repair as a foundation. Is that the only thing? That's all I can think of.
I don't think that they would have to change designs with anything. I guess there's lots of degrees of right to repair.
Yeah, maybe we should define that first.
So there is certainly, I think what you're describing is maybe the most extreme end, where companies need to make products explicitly to facilitate making repairing them easier, which I don't think is at least it's not how I usually think about right to repair. My idea of right to repair is more companies need to allow the repair of their products, or at least not make it explicitly difficult in the ways like not providing like schematics, right? Which Apple wouldn't have to do anything different about making an iPhone today except give these have these iPhone circuit board schematic documents available for like repair shops to use or anyone to access if they wanted them. Now, I don't think that's going to change much because most people aren't going to be technically capable of performing repairs on multi-layer circuit boards that with micro solder. So things like that won't change much, but I don't think that I've never thought of it as they have to like use through hole components from now on so that they can be easily swapped out.
What about the case of AirPods where it's comprised of so much glue that it's almost irreparable? Would you see that product design would have to change so that you didn't have to cut it open and destroy it to swap out a battery? Because no amount of documentation's going to change the fact that it's just glued together.
Yeah, you got to destroy it to take it apart.
Yeah, although I believe someone has worked out a way to get around that, but let's just pretend they haven't.
The problem is that how do you prove that it was done explicitly with the intention of making it hard to repair? Because I can see them saying,
well,
it
almost certainly hasn't been.
Right. So especially something like sound equipment where it's got to be like a sealed environment for acoustic reasons. I would hope that a law wouldn't make them have to make potentially worse devices just for the sake of maybe someone's going to want to replace this, fingernail-sized battery at some point.
I believe that AirPods probably could have been designed with less glue to make it easier to swap out the battery. That, it would have been a harder engineering challenge, and maybe they're like 0.5 millimeter thicker on the stem. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be doable, and some sort of law that says, a depleted or a battery at the end of its life has to be replaceable, not by the user, but by a repair shop, authorized or not. But the schematics and the instructions to make that replacement have to be publicly available as well as the parts at a competitive rate. Simply a law like that sounds like it would achieve what sounds like what we're chasing. What was it chasing?
That's a huge change in Apple's business where they have to suddenly become part suppliers, though, to people that aren't them.
But they do that already, because they do have a authorized repair program.
Sure.
And they have to supply parts to the shops.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I'm so conflicted on this. Like, I am in support of right to repair. I think that people should be able to repair their own stuff. But I don't want, my MacBook Pro to get twice as thick again because Apple has to use slotted RAM DIMMs and things like that again. Although maybe I'm speaking as someone who's a little more privileged in the situation where I've never owned a computer long enough that parts fail on it. So the concern of fixing things doesn't really show up in my day-to-day life because they usually sell them off within a year or two. So I don't know.
Specifically on like the problem with RAM and the motherboard having everything soldered onto it or not removable, I think the motherboard just becomes the replaceable part in that instance.
Right. So then the issue just becomes like having access to that part because you can't just get a motherboard.
Yeah.
Okay. Or the idea, I mean, there's been some more explicit things that Apple's done that seems specifically targeted towards third-party repairs. Specifically do with like screen replacements on iPhones. They've had multiple instances where they've like prompts have come up saying like this is not a valid screen, or even disabling like your Touch ID home button on older iPhones. And
there were, I think, cameras paired to certain SIPs or ISPs at one point.
Yeah, things like signing all the hardware components together, and if you replace one, it just doesn't work anymore. Like that should not be allowed, except maybe in the case of components that like hold sensitive data, like storage or whatever. But things like your screen, that should not have be like hardware signed to your phone.
Yeah, I suppose not. But were those screens supplied by Apple, and was it a formal process by Apple to do the screen replacement? Because if both those things were true, then I bet the problem wouldn't have existed. Whether Apple makes those things available to the repair shops, I don't know.
Because they had a special, and still do, I assume, a calibration tool to like set up that hardware association so the new screen is valid with the device. But I never heard a legitimate reason for that software limitation to have been put in the first place. And so it seems like it was done specifically just so you paid the like $600 or $300 whatever out of warranty screen replacement through them instead of the $100 you'd pay at some kiosk in a mall.
Yeah.
So
I'm out of thoughts.
Yeah, and I'm not terribly well versed in the idea and the full scope of what right to repair is. I guess like the core tenet of it and the general belief that I align with is just that when you buy something, it's yours to do with whatever you want. And a lot of companies have been making that less true in the last few years, where it's almost like you've bought the hardware, but we still own like either the software and there was a legal battle years ago now about whether or not jailbreaking was legal, and I feel like that's kind of in the same camp, and that fell in our favor. So I feel like the hardware limitations should as well.
Well, at risk of having a whole nother topic about this, what about when you buy the hardware, it's yours, but the hardware relies on like a server-side component, and how long should that be active for? Because isn't there a certain thermostats that don't work anymore? And I think Sonos threatened to pull the plug on some older hardware at some point. On a speaker. Speakers last forever, basically.
Yeah, or
it was going to...
Something that actually never applied to me because I switched to Apple Watch, but the Pebble smartwatches, all of those don't work anymore because they had server-side stuff that stopped existing when Pebble went under.
Wow, you're kidding. All those Pebbles don't work.
I believe like there's been some like community revival effort, and I don't know any of the details about it because I've only seen glimpses over the years, but it seems like some devoted Pebble fans have been working to keep them alive, but it's not thanks to Pebble or man, who bought Pebble? I don't remember anymore. It was another fitness watch.
Fitbit?
Yep, Fitbit bought Pebble. And so Fitbit certainly hasn't been trying to keep the Pebble alive. So it's only thanks to community effort, I think, that it's still working, if it is still working.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, I don't know what to say about situations like that. I mean, a company can't be obligated to keep servers running indefinitely. It's just like...
No, what if the company stops existing?
Yeah, exactly. So, or even examples like Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft shutting down the eShops for their older consoles.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you just kind of have to... I wouldn't mind there being more explicit like warnings or something, some like label that has to be on a product like this depends on a third-party service that may not exist in the future.
Yeah, it's like the new MFI badge. It's like server dependent.
Right, yeah. So that seems to be the way everything's going, though. There's so many fewer pieces of software or hardware that are completely self-contained. So things like light switches and thermostats that just used to always work, and you never had to think about it. Now, sometimes they just don't work.
Oh man, light switches that require a round trip to the internet are just destined for failure.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Lutron switches. I've got a few of those in my house now, and those have been rock solid for me. So I think in the future, especially because I learned very quickly that I went all Hue when I was first setting up smart home stuff, and all my light bulbs are Hue bulbs, and I thought they were so cool. And I learned that coolness of being able to change the colors of every room in your house wears off very quickly, and you just want regular lights to turn on and off. So
about 3 seconds after you set your first color, you wish it was back to regular Kelvin temperature.
Right. I've never once set the color of a light bulb because I wanted a room to be a different color, and I wasn't just showing off my colorful light bulbs. I've never done it to not just show them off.
The only thing I ever did was I made the front door light go green on Halloween. That was it. Yeah.
I've done color changing porch lights for holidays, but yeah, it's certainly not something I need in every room of the house. So as my Hue bulbs have died, and I've lost a couple, they're getting on 6 years old, some of them, and I've had a couple fail. As a matter of fact, I have one that I need to replace right now because it's failed. But I'm, for the most part, not replacing them with Hue bulbs. I'm just changing out the switch in the wall and putting regular LED light bulbs in instead.
There you go.
Yep.
Going back to a dumb home.
Still a smart home, just a different aspect of it is smart.
Okay.
So use the Lutron smart switches that don't communicate over the internet. They use some kind of radio frequency, I assume, because they've got a hub that communicates with the switches.
Our next topic is that experts warn of drive failures impacting users of Apple's airport time capsules. So we haven't had time capsules for a little while now.
Mm-hmm.
They've been discontinued, sadly. But a German company called Datenrettung has said that the Seagate Granada hard drive installed in certain time capsules has not just a high failure rate, but a specific high failure rate to do with the read-write unit being destroyed by the head, something like that.
Yeah, something to do with like where the read-write head parks itself when it's not in use. Whatever that material is degrades over time, and so when the head goes to park itself eventually, it gets damaged by trying to go back to its dock. And then the next time it tries to read data, because it's damaged, it just scrapes up your hard drive in there and ruins it.
And makes data recovery very high effort and in some cases not fully recoverable. I am thoroughly amused that this drive is called the Granada, which sounds all too similar to grenade. just waiting to go off. There is also mention of where is it? Of ventilation issues contributing something to this
Yeah, that wasn't
high
clear to
failure
me.
rate. So no, and I did open up the original article, but it was in German. It would have taken high effort to to decipher it. So yeah, it wasn't clear. Maybe one of us should go and chuck it into Google Translate and have a look.
Yeah.
Whether the high temperature's part of the problem or not. But in any case, if you've got one of these time machines with the Seagate hand grenade drive, you should probably get it switched out.
So it seems like specifically the 2 and 3 terabyte variants were the ones that use the hard drive.
All right. From 2014 to 2018.
Yeah.
I pulled open one of the flat time capsules before, but never one of these tall ones.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever cracked one open?
No, I've never had a time capsule. I bought the Airport Extremes, but I always plugged in hard drives for my time capsule backups because I assumed it would be faster.
Oh, God, yes, it would be so much faster. Time capsules were so incredibly slow.
Yeah.
I mean, unless everything was wired up with gigabit LAN, but even like over 100 megabit Ethernet, unbearably slow. Wi-Fi was basically unusable. Like, it wasn't worth the restoring.
Oh, wow. I definitely see this as something I would have bought had I been a bit older when they existed and had more computers that I wanted to back up. But I guess I was just lucky in that the point in my life I was at when time capsules existed, I only had one computer, and it was just easier to have a hard drive plugged into it and have it back up that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I got rid of my last one probably only a year or two ago. It just stopped backing up reliably, I think, like post Catalina for some reason. But I had one of the old flat ones as well, like an old 2 terabyte flat one, not even one of the new ones. So I was hardly surprised when it stopped backing up reliably.
Were you still using it as a Wi-Fi router or only backup drive?
Only a backup drive.
Okay.
I stopped using it as the main router when my ISP introduced automatic 4G failover for the internet connection, and it was just going to be too much work to also use the time capsule as the router and the ISPs together.
That sounds like an awesome solution. I'm not familiar with any of ISPs over here offering something like that.
Okay.
Maybe it's not something I've just...
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, they ensure you don't get the best 4G speed somehow. They make sure it's limited to like 5 megabits or some crazy slow speed. But at least you still have internet usable enough to do some browsing if the landline goes out, if the cable goes out.
Right. Yeah, it's actually pretty rare that my internet goes out. I lose power way more than I lose internet.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I think the last time it went out was just last time we did a podcast, coincidentally. It dropped out because they were doing some work in the area.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, prior to that, it's pretty rare, a rare event.
But yeah, this is not time capsules specifically, but the Wi-Fi router aspect is an area that I wish Apple would not have dropped out of when they did. Because they stopped making Wi-Fi routers, and then it was right around that same time, if not maybe a year after, that Apple really released the Home app and the HomeKit framework, and then eventually had to start partnering with other router manufacturers to include HomeKit functionality in their routers to encrypt data. And this seems like a great point that Apple could hop in and offer a secure router with encryption in it and maybe some good mesh networking and the latest Wi-Fi. And I'm disappointed. I was an Airport Extreme user, and now I have Google routers.
If you had to make the choice between the airports or the HomePod line, which would you make a choice? Because I think one made space for another.
In an ideal world, I would say they should both exist.
You can't choose both.
But
come on.
Wait, I will make a choice of one or the other. But I want to
All right.
offer this first. They should be the same product. The HomePods should act as hubs on a mesh network because they're already set up all over your house. That's what they should do. But if I had to choose one, I would take the HomePods over the AirPorts. Because not because I listen to music, because I don't. I really like having Siri in the bathroom, like to get the weather and stuff when I'm getting ready in the morning. And I really, really like the HomePod's integration with my Apple TV.
It's incredible. Yeah. I was going to talk about this post-show.
Okay.
But the integration between the two is, frankly, way better than I thought it would be.
Yeah. So, but if they could just make those two the same, and your HomePod was formed a mesh network, it seems like, I'm sure it's not trivial, but if you've already come around the house, it would be perfect.
So Apple has actually released a new product since we last spoke.
Yeah. Kind of out of the blue.
Yeah. A MagSafe battery pack for iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro for $99 US. So Yasmin calls it the backpack, which I think is kind of cute.
Yeah.
It's a little battery backpack which magnetically clips onto all the phones. I didn't say mini, but it attaches to the mini as well. It's basically the width of the mini and the height of the mini up to the camera bump.
Yeah, which is...
Sorry?
I would say it's as big as it can be without having to have multiple battery packs for different iPhones.
That's it, yeah.
Yep.
Although not as thick as it could be. But the other dimensions, yes, as big as it could be.
Yeah.
It only comes in white. If they're going to pick one option, I suppose white's the one to go with. But why didn't they just make color matching to all the iPhones? Probably just to avoid having like a billion SKUs.
Yeah.
And the part that I see as like just such an obvious flaw in the product is that the battery pack itself doesn't wirelessly charge. So you've got a phone which wirelessly charges and a battery pack that connects wirelessly to the phone to wirelessly charge the phone. So you're living in this wireless world, you know, everything's flash, everything's new. Don't have to plug in everything. Oh, wait, you do have to plug in the battery pack if you want to charge it. Whether you plug in the phone or the battery pack itself.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a little
because,
misleading.
Surprise, surprise, the phone can charge the battery pack.
Yeah, so the battery does wirelessly charge just from the phone if it's plugged in. Yeah.
Why can't the battery pack charge wirelessly?
I don't know. I was under the assumption when they first announced this that of course that's how it worked, because how else would it work? You leave it on the phone, you set both down on the charger, and it charges both. But maybe there's heat concerns with charging coils being active on both sides of the battery or something.
I bet it's something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, it seems crazy to have to reintroduce a cable into your life if you wanted this battery pack.
Yeah, for that reason alone, there's no way I would ever buy this battery pack.
Really?
No way. I'm not going to go and put cables back around the house everywhere.
Well, presumably, at least how I would use it in my mind, is that this battery pack would be something I only used occasionally. Like maybe I'd leave it plugged in on my desk or next to my bed. And the days I know I'm going out for a full day, or maybe I'm going to be gone for the weekend, I'd take the battery with me at that point and it's charged and ready to go. But most of the time, I wouldn't have it on my phone.
So it kind of acts as the Qi charger for you. So you could just leave it on your side table plugged in in place of whatever Qi charger you've got there now. It's like a portable Qi charger, basically.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you think about it that way, then yeah, it makes complete sense.
I'd be slightly hesitant to do that though, just considering that batteries don't really enjoy being plugged in for most of their life.
You'd hope that Apple has some kind of battery managing circuitry in there, though.
Yeah, but even so, it's going to be like probably over 90% for most of the time if you use it like in that style.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's maybe one of the main things that's kept me from putting like iPad minis on the wall as smart home controls. I've seen too many pictures of their batteries just swelling from being plugged in for. It usually takes a couple years, but by the couple year mark, they're destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what happens to a mini when the battery swells? Does the screen pop out?
Yeah. Usually it pushes the screen out if you're lucky, and catch it like that, or it can just destroy components or the screen itself, and then you can't even swap it out if you wanted to.
Okay. So back to the backpack, battery backpack.
Mm-hmm.
So when the battery pack's plugged in to Lightning, it'll charge your phone at 15 watts, which is good fast phone charging.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's not plugged in, it just reverts to 5-watt charging. So slow charge.
Yeah. Which I saw some people complaining about that, but I think that makes the most sense, because it's just going to be on your phone, in your pocket. It doesn't have to be charging fast. It just has to keep it topped up.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, I don't see any point for super fast charging.
In fact, you'd be hindering the performance of the battery, because the faster it charges, the more watts it uses, the more you lose to heat. And so you've got a really hot phone and you're losing some of that power to heat instead of it actually saving your battery life.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever they can do to keep the phone cool in your pocket.
And of course you get the whole integration. Whoops, that should be off. There's a bit of sand stuck in my ringer switch, so I can't mute the phone. That's probably why it's not muted. Damn, yeah, it's really in there. Yeah.
That's the weak spot of iPhones.
There we go, got it. That almost never happens to me, but there you go.
I haven't had sand get in there, but especially back when I was getting new phones every like 4 to 6 months, and was doing that by trading phones with people. If I got a used iPhone, for some reason, the way most people treat their iPhones, in my experience, I end up with like a sticky mute switch where it doesn't click back and forth between positions, and it feels kind of gummy.
That's disgusting.
I don't know what people do to their iPhones, but that was like just the expected way I was going to get an iPhone from someone when I was trading on Craigslist for new phones every few months. So
I don't know how you would get it like that, unless you always have dirty fingers.
Probably, or like
maybe someone who eats a lot of chocolate.
Ugh. Yeah, it kind of felt like, I don't know, like if you get soda on something and it gets all sticky and gummy, it seems like they got like some kind of like sweet drink or something in there. And anyway, that's just how all my mute switches ended up. So there's some dirty people out there. I think the most interesting thing about this battery pack has nothing to do with the battery pack, and is in fact Apple confirming that the iPhone has the ability to reverse charge things.
Exactly. And why can't it reverse charge everything else?
Right. Yeah, it seems like you should be able to throw your AirPods on the back and charge those up. I'm sure that's much less of a power demand than a battery pack would be. But
So if the hardware is there, then they've just made the decision that it's not worth doing to implement it.
Yeah, maybe not practical. Like Apple,
practical. That's the word.
Yeah. So, like something like that would probably make a good tech demo. Like you can put your AirPods on the back of the phone, but I wonder if they've just determined that in practice people don't need to do that because AirPods already last so long on their own, and that the having to fiddle with getting it lined up just right on the back of the phone and the rate or whatever they can charge it at from the phone just makes it not something that would be practically useful to people.
I'd prefer to charge my phone off my AirPods because the AirPods battery is just lasts forever. The phone's always running out.
Yeah.
It's a fraction of the size though, so also impractical.
Yeah. So, but maybe future I don't know if they can make this work, but maybe future AirPods that have some kind of MagSafe magnet in the case or something that lets them line up better on their coils, then
There's an idea.
could work better.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that this accessory took so long, because this was an obvious accessory the moment they announced MagSafe.
I wonder if the AirPower team was working on it and targeted November 2020, but here we have it now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not completely out of the norm for them. The iPhone 6 battery case didn't come out for about 6 months after the iPhone came out.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to be kind of on par with them doing this mid-cycle, although I do not understand why. Actually, after 2 seconds of thought, maybe I do understand why. Releasing a phone and a battery charge case alongside it might sound like you're admitting this phone has a bad battery.
Oh yeah, definitely sends the wrong message.
Yeah.
No, you cannot do it at the same time. 3 to 6 months later is prime.
Okay. The problem for me is, and maybe not this year because it's a first year of a design, but I would never buy an accessory like this for my phone 6 months into owning it, because I know I'm getting a new one in 6 months and I won't be guaranteed this accessory will work with it.
You're the exception. And there's a very good chance it will work with the 12S as well. So I wouldn't be too worried.
Right, yeah. So, although battery life is just not something I've ever had to worry about with my giant phone, that and also just not going anywhere in the last year has helped quite a bit.
Look, I've got Yasmin's / my iPhone 10, and the battery status is service required, and I'm completely fine with the battery life. There's no issues at all.
It doesn't even show the percentage anymore, huh?
It doesn't anymore?
I don't know. You said I assumed that when you said battery status, you're talking about the battery life percentage.
Yeah, so the battery health says service. I think you can see the percentage if I click on it.
Oh, okay.
Maximum capacity is 83%.
Oh.
So at 83%,
That's not bad.
I'm easily getting through a day or more.
Yeah, I assumed it'd be below 80 for them to be telling you to service it.
That's odd then.
But I wonder if that's just at the point where peak performance could potentially shut off your phone is when they show that message.
Well, I've got this message just below, and decipher this for me.
Okay.
It says peak performance capability.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it looks like there should be a toggle next to it, but there's nothing. It's just a line. It's like a button that doesn't have a button.
Mm-hmm.
Then the description text underneath. Your battery's health is significantly degraded and peak performance may be impacted.
Okay.
To me, that sounds like it's already throttling the phone because of the battery.
Yeah.
And I kind of would expect some sort of toggle there.
Maybe it's possible that at this percentage it could be limited, because you're right. There definitely is a toggle, but I don't think that toggle shows up until the first time your phone shuts itself off and until it actually starts throttling itself. So I don't think your phone is throttling its performance yet, but when it starts doing that, it'll give you the option to turn it off.
Okay. Yeah, see how long I keep this phone for. I'm kind of emotionally attached to it now. I've had it in the family for so many years.
Oh my goodness. 4 years?
Shut up. Yep. I got it just after Johannes was born, so I know it's almost 4 years old.
Emotionally attached to a piece of electronics. Now you're starting to sound like me.
Anyway. Speaking of emotional attachment to things, actually that segue doesn't work at all. iOS 15 Beta 3 tweaks controversial Safari redesign with new address bar and reload button. So, as we saw in iOS 15 Betas 1 and 2, the address bar in Safari was at the bottom of the screen, but yet when you tapped into it, it would fly up to the top of the screen. Mm-hmm. It was certainly kind of disconcerting, kind of annoying, but I mean, I would have got used to it. I'm sure some people would have been thoroughly confused. But now what they've done in Beta 3 is the address bar is now attached to the keyboard, so it stays at the bottom of the screen, and is altogether just a better design, I think. It looks better, it's more predictable, and it's easy to reach. So win-win-win.
Yep, I love it. This is one of the things I missed the most, like, from my days of using Windows Phone. And Windows Phone, since Windows Phone 7 in 2010, 2011, Windows Phone 7 came out, that this has been not only the default browser behavior, but just kind of like one of the ideas of the user experience is that everything's at the bottom. And if there's a text field, it's at the bottom and it attaches to the top of the keyboard when it slides up. And I've always preferred that. And so I'm so happy to see it being brought to iOS finally.
Yeah, it's great.
Now it's a little clunky right now. I'm playing with it right now and it's kind of ugly.
It is. It's ugly and the animation's a bit glitchy.
Yeah. The clear button for the browser is cut off a bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it seems like it was clearly like a rushed implementation. Like they weren't planning on doing this, but after enough feedback, they're like, we need to change this. And so they quickly threw something in this beta, but I like the direction they're going.
Another thing I really like about maybe not this beta, but I've only just come across it in this beta, is with that address bar, you can firstly flick it up to go to the tab view, and secondly, swipe it left to open a new tab.
If you're on the last tab.
Gestures. If you're on the last tab.
Yeah.
Which I nearly always am when I'm trying to open a new tab. The only thing I feel is missing, which I'd really like, is a swipe gesture to close whichever tab I'm on. That would be really good because I'm really not enjoying the gestures to close tabs at the moment, which is go into tab view and then either hit the X or swipe it left. Now, the X is often hard to reach because it's way up the top, and the swipe to the left, it's the spring is too taut, and it often takes 2 goes to flick it.
Huh. What would that gesture look like?
Probably just a swipe down, because that doesn't conflict with anything else on the screen. You're not, if you accidentally swipe down on the home indicator, you'll just go into like reachability mode, which is no big deal. So yeah, a swipe down would be great.
A swipe down from the web page you're currently on, or in the tab view.
Swipe down on the address bar.
Okay.
Of the web page you're on.
The problem I feel like you could have with that is there's pull to refresh now on websites. So if you pulled to refresh in just the wrong spot, you could accidentally dismiss your tab.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, just playing around with it. Maybe even a swipe all the way up. If you swipe up now, it goes into tab view, but maybe you could continue the swipe even further to close the current tab.
Oh, maybe.
Reminiscent of the old swipe up to close from the multitasking view. Wait, that's still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that could work. I'm not sure that I'm a fan of the tab view. Maybe it's because the gesture to enter tab view is the same as the gesture to enter multitasking view, but I do expect my tabs to show up in that same kind of horizontal list that my apps show up in when I go into multitasking.
Exactly.
I feel like that would be easier to quickly flick through than having to scroll up and down through a list of tabs. But all in all, I'm actually a pretty big fan of this Safari redesign. Once they clean up the animations in a few spots and things like that, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, me too. Continuing on the same topic, the Safari on macOS Monterey Beta 3 also got a redesign following probably stronger complaints.
Yep. And
it's basically gone back to what it was before, just slightly worse even.
Yeah, I'm using it currently. This also feels like it must have been a kind of a rushed change on their part because, yeah, it's just worse. Tabs look the same as they did, but they're just in their own a horizontal row now below the address bar, but they've got a lot of padding around them, so you still lose some horizontal space to all this padding now. So like Safari in Big Sur, you could fit more tabs in and they'd be more legible than you can now in this version of the Monterey beta.
So half the point of the original redesign was to give you more vertical space for the website you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've ended up with the opposite.
We've lost vertical space?
Yes.
Wow. So you're saying this new browser Chrome as it sits is taller than the older one was?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not something that I looking at it, I think you're right. It's just not something that was immediately noticeable, so it must not be too much bigger.
No, I don't think so.
But I believe it with all this padding around these tabs now. So they need to clean that up, and I don't know what they're going to do at this point except just go back to the old Safari UI.
That's the whole part of the process I don't understand. So surely this idea was hatched many, many months ago, maybe even a year ago, and it went through the whole design phase and a mock-up phase and then the implementation phase and even like a mini marketing phase, I guess, because it had to be announced WWDC.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout all that, there wasn't a strong enough voice saying like, this is worse. I'm talking about like beta 1, beta 2, saying this is worse than what we had before. Like, what are we doing? And it took all that process to reach a public release and then a public outcry and then a rush back to do something else. Surely this stage could have happened like 6 months ago.
My only thought is that I don't know the word for this, but there was some kind of flag in this last few versions of Safari to enable and disable the new UI. And it sounded like it was specifically used internally to keep the Safari redesign like under wraps, probably until right about when it was launched, so that any team that wasn't working on Safari still saw the old UI. And maybe it was just there wasn't enough eyes on it. If all you had was the Safari team who were trying something new and were maybe in a bit of an echo chamber, maybe they didn't get that feedback until the point of the public announcement. And if some of the other dev teams were also having to use the new Safari that they didn't have a hand in, and so maybe didn't have some investment in, they would have heard quicker that, this is not working for people.
That sounds like a very plausible theory.
Yeah.
Historically, Apple's had quite small teams working on things.
Mm-hmm.
And that plus keeping something as tightly under wraps as possible, could mean that very few people saw this before we heard about it even.
Right. And I didn't hate the new Safari UI. It was different, but the most tabs I ever have open on my Mac is when I have all the articles pulled up for the show. So probably not nearly as many as other people, but it still felt usable and it was different, and I don't mind different. I usually like different because it makes my computer feel new. So I was fine with it. Maybe I would have got frustrated with it using it more over time, but I was actually rather indifferent. But it sounds like I was in the minority about that.
Mm. Yeah, I never even got a chance to try it.
Do you have it on your iPad?
No.
Okay. Because they still haven't touched the Safari on iPad, and I don't know if they're going to, or we're going to have 3 different versions of Safari on all 3 devices.
That everything on that topic?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm James VDM on Reddit and on Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
And you can find the show notes at reddit.com/theRAppleShow.
So you got your HomePod paired with the Apple TV?
Yeah. And the thing that I was especially surprised about is that it stays paired all the time. And you never have to worry about setting it back to the HomePod.
Mm-hmm.
And you can you can send the audio, say, just to my AirPods for a little while, and even like to 2 sets of AirPods at the same time, which I was also surprised about.
Mm-hmm.
And then I totally expected that we both put our AirPods away, turn the TV off, come back to it the next day, and it would just be spitting out the audio through the TV crappy speakers. But no, it just reverts back to the HomePod again. Yeah. It's very sticky to the HomePod, and I did not expect it at all, but very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it's great. And you're just using it with one HomePod?
Yeah, one HomePod, and it sounds good too. Sounds really good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's way better than... I assume like you got a flat screen, and those things have no room for speakers inside of them.
No, I literally don't know what the speakers sound like because I chose HomePod, I think, during the Apple TV setup process,
mm-hmm.
and it has never gone to anything else except the AirPods. It's never forgotten about the HomePod.
Yeah, I've never had any issues with mine either. So did you get the brand new Apple TV?
Yeah, the brand new one with the new remote as well.
Yeah, what do you think of the remote?
Which is lovely. It's a great remote.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things I haven't quite gotten my head around yet. I thought the how the D-pad is also like a scroll wheel.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't really behave like a scroll wheel to me, unless that's just like the next version of tvOS, which I'm not on the beta. I'm just on the standard release at the moment. But you can't like scroll through a TV show as if it was a click wheel, which I expected to be able to do.
It depends. Apps have to implement it. So if you're using anything other than like the Apple TV app, then it probably won't work yet. I haven't found anything that supports it yet. But if you're watching an Apple TV Plus show or something, the way you have to invoke the click wheel like scrolling is you have to click the button so the timeline shows up, and then mm-hmm. you place your finger anywhere along the circle, and you have to wait a second. And after about a second, a circle icon will appear over the progress bar, and that means that you can then scrub through with that circular tracking motion.
Okay, I'll give that a shot. I've just been click once to show the scrub bar timeline, mm-hmm. click again to like highlight the dot, and then swipe right and left to change.
Yeah, it's not super intuitive.
No.
But yeah, if you just rest your finger on the edge there and wait for that icon to show up, then it'll work like I think you're expecting.
Yeah. Even with the crappy old TV that I've got, the HDMI CEC turns the TV on, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't quite manage to turn it off.
Oh.
But, you win some, you lose some.
Weird.
I haven't bothered troubleshooting that yet, but I'm not too fussed either.
Does it turn itself off after a little bit if it's not getting a signal?
Oh, it probably has that capability, but I haven't really tried it yet.
I'd be surprised. I've had some TVs that I never bothered turning it off because it would just put itself to sleep when it got no signal, and some would just mm-hmm. display a no signal box forever if you didn't turn them off. So
yeah, I should check that.
But yeah, CEC stuff is great. I assume that if you got it used, it probably doesn't have that, I don't even know what the term is, with the ability where it can send audio back through the TV into the Apple TV so that all audio can play through your HomePod, even if it's like another device plugged in.
I am never ever going to plug another device back into this, but I do believe it has that feature because one of the HDMI labels inputs is labeled HDMI ARC, which is I believe audio return channel.
That's it.
Yeah.
Awesome. But you're never going to use another HDMI device, huh?
Never, ever. No, I don't know what I would use.
What if, I know you're not this kind of family, but what if, Johannes wants like a Switch for his birthday in a year or something?
He can use it handheld, gosh damn it. Gosh. I went between God and gosh. God damn it. No, but yeah, not really that sort of family.
Yeah. All right.
I was thoroughly amused to go into the App Store and see top paid apps includes the Fireplace app still.
Yeah, yeah, that App Store is pretty much a wasteland, and has only changed in the last 6 years, in so much that, like, basically the only thing they highlight is streaming apps now.
That's it. Yep, that's all that's there.
So that, and Apple Arcade has some stuff that's pretty okay to play on the TV. Although it's going to be a lot harder now because that new remote doesn't have gyroscope or anything in it. So you basically forced to connect a MFI controller to the TV if you want to play any games on there.
Yeah, and I've got the Nimbus sitting around in a box somewhere, which I never use, so I could hook that up.
Yeah, there you go. If you got Arcade, that's probably the best way to play something like Oceanhorn or something.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I should give it a go.
Yeah.
I have to resubscribe.
You let your subscription lapse?
Yeah, I wasn't really playing anything, so didn't bother.
You just gotta get Apple One.
Speaking of lapse, well, my TV Plus subscription ends tomorrow, so...
Uh-oh. Is that what this Ted Lasso note is?
Yeah, kind of. So I did a rewatch of Ted Lasso. Even better the second time through. I never rewatch anything, so it speaks to the love for the show. Just in time for season 2, which comes out a week, I think, from recording. But the actual reason that I put in here was, did you see that David Smith discovered the recipe for the shortbread that Ted gives his boss in the show?
No, how did he do that?
Well, at the end of keynote credits, I can't remember which keynote it was, but Apple put in like the first, like half of the first line of the recipe, and then as like a tease, and then just immediately cut the video.
Yeah.
But David Smith kind of worked out what the letters were, and then did a Google search and discovered the matching recipe for the shortbread. Oh,
okay.
So yesterday I whipped up a batch, and it is phenomenal. It's really good.
Really? Okay. You're gonna have to forward me that probably the recipe.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, it's easily the best shortbread I've ever tasted. But
wow,
I've also never made shortbread before, so I'm only comparing to shop-bought shortbread.
Yeah, I'm surprised that if they didn't bother to create their own recipe, and they just Googled shortbread recipe to stick it in the show notes, that they were able to come across or deliberately chose a good one.
Yeah, I wonder how that came about. I imagine it was just a Google for something.
Yeah, this is neat. So I close out tabs as we go through the show. So I've got Safari sitting with just like the splash start screen now, because we've gotten through all of our tabs. And all my devices are in do not disturb mode. So I didn't get a notification that you texted me, but the link you sent me immediately showed up in my shared with you section in Safari as I'm just sitting there.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's very good.
Ted Lasso's Secret Shortbread.
Yeah, at the end of yesterday's spring-loaded event, so April this year, 2021.
Yeah. All right. I'll have to give it a shot. That might be something fun to have with the kids. And honestly, I don't think I've ever had shortbread.
Well, if you can imagine, butter, flour, and sugar with excessive amounts of butter, that's shortbread.
Okay. I don't think it's a very American thing, because it's not something that I'm immediately familiar with. So, but I'll give it a try. It'd be fun to have with the kids.
Just in time for the premiere.
Yeah. I got my Ted Lasso shirt. I'm ready.
What shirt's that?
So in the show, Ted wears a Kansas City barbecue shirt a few times, and it's not referencing any real barbecue restaurant. It's a made up one for the show, but its name is like an amalgamation of like the 4 or 5 most popular barbecue restaurants in Kansas City. His shirt, it says Joe Arthur Gate Stacks, which
Okay.
Joe's Kansas City Barbecue is one, Arthur Bryant's is one, Gates Barbecue is one, and Jack Stacks is another barbecue restaurant. So they combine them all together. And so he wears a shirt that says that, and yeah, I ordered one, I don't know, maybe a year ago when I first saw it. So it's a fun shirt, especially for someone like me who's very into barbecue as a Kansas City person.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that about you.
Oh, yeah, I like barbecue so much. I worked at a barbecue restaurant in high school for the free food. And it was worth it.
Gas or charcoal?
Neither. You smoke barbecue.
What does that involve?
That involves burning wood slowly so that it emits smoke and cooks meat slowly over 12 hours.
Ah, okay.
So I think what you're describing is grilling, which most people incorrectly call barbecuing.
Oh, yeah. As in the whole countries of Australia and Germany, as far as I know.
No. Barbecue.
Oh, no, sorry. Germans say grilled, which is grilling, I suppose.
I mean, even in United States, if you get invited to a barbecue, it's most likely someone with their grill making hamburgers or something. But no, real barbecue is made in a smoker over a very long period of time.
Okay.
So, but if I had to choose one for grilling, I usually use gas because it's cleaner and easier.